first one we're going to talk about anyway, so we'll jump into it now. According to Plattenberg, I'm going to put this up on the screen actually. He has said that Bayer Leverkusen have rejected Liverpool's second offer. Liverpool have offered 130 million euros to secure the services of the German, but Bayer Leverkusen are demanding 150 million euros. Jamie, as a Liverpool supporter, personal terms all set and done, but the second bid has now been rejected. Are you getting concerned at all, or do you think there'll be a compromise here?
I wouldn't say concerned, because obviously all the reports are coming out are saying that Wirtz is like chosen Liverpool and he wants to go to them. So I think that's a good sign. The thing is Bayer Leverkusen are probably in a strong position where they know they can maybe up the price and get a little bit more from. But 130, 100, like 100, if the Liverpool put in a bid and rejected for 130 million, going up to 150 now, like it's a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? I think I was looking through German players that have come to the Premier League, and if you kind of think of like forwards, like Haaland's obviously come in, Kevin De Bruyne came from Wolfsburg, and then Aubameyang, but like in terms of like top quality, like people that have really like transformed a team or like really gone on to have unbelievable careers in the Premier League, it's not that many from the Bundesliga, which would be a worry. But I think like you're looking at a player that's been just been a Bundesliga player of the year 2 years in a row. I think he's only him and Salah have had over 10 goals and assists in their respective leagues in the last 2 seasons. So the quality is there, do you know what I mean? And you're seeing him away from Bayern Munich, who is very rare that you take a player away, like a German player away from Bayern Munich that's in the German league. So yeah, I think if Liverpool are hard set, and I think Michael Edwards, FSG, when they really want a player, they usually go after and they pay the money that they think is the right. Like you look at the Van Dijk sign, and everyone said that was ridiculous money for a centre back. He's come in, changed the team. So when they go on to a player and they feel like it's, even if it's a little bit more than people expect, then I think they go out and pay it. So I'd say they're probably negotiating just a little bit more just to see what they can do. It might be a player going the other way. Like I've heard Kwanzaa and Elliott have been talked about maybe going to the German league. So yeah, I think that's probably maybe an option that they're looking at. But it is a lot of money, so hopefully he can come in and be a success.
Yeah, 126 million pound that kind of translates to, which would be well beyond the British transfer record. Was it 100 million, the British transfer record? Well, 105, I think, for Enzo. So it would be massive. What's your thoughts on it, Alice? Obviously, we know the talent of the player. Do you think when the transfer fees start getting to that level, could that put too much pressure on him, or do you feel that he's just that type of star that's going to handle it?
Like, he is £100 million player. Like, there's, you look at Wirtz, you look at Musiala, you look at like Pedri, they're all like £100 million plus players. So, I think, if I was Bayer Leverkusen, I probably would have accepted Liverpool's bid of around 110 million, because I think you don't want him going to Bayern Munich. He could just stay another year and go to Bayern Munich. Ten Hag's Leverkusen, he may want those funds to bring in players that suit him. And hopefully Ten Hag will be buying an Anana and Højlund. That'd be really nice if he wants to spend the Wirtz money on that. I can't lie. But look, Florian Wirtz is a talented player, and I always said you can't replace Trent with a right back. Like, Frimpong's very attacking and his output's very attacking, but like in terms of Trent, he's a specialist when it comes to his passing, his ball progression, his creativity. And I think that Wirtz almost brings a little bit of that. I almost think Wirtz and Frimpong is almost a good way of getting Trent's creativity in from Wirtz. And I think in the 10 role as well, I think Solskjaer's been very good, and he's very good particularly out of possession. But I do think at times, he doesn't quite get the goal and assist numbers. His ball striking's great, but he doesn't quite get the goal and assist numbers that maybe Arne Slot would want from a 10. And I think, once or twice he's played a bit deeper, and I think he's looked solid in that role. I think he could be rotation, but I think Wirtz is just, he's a ceiling raiser. And I think, Wirtz, Salah, Frimpong, the three of them combining slightly on the right, it's very good. And I just think, there's a reason why City wanted him to replace De Bruyne. There's a reason why Bayern Munich wanted him. I'm sure if Manchester United could get him, they would want him, but they know there's no chance. I'm sure that any team would really want him. There was even links to Real Madrid, but I don't really think they need him as a priority. I think defence is more their problem. Like, for me, he's definitely like he's one of the 10 players in football that is a £100 million player, and I think it would be an insane signing for Liverpool. The only question is, how well does it translate over to the Premier League? But look at Haaland. Marmoush has done well. Not everybody is Timo Werner, so I think it'll be a good signing.
Yeah, no, I think he will as well, and he's joining he's joining a very good team. And I feel like a lot of the other big signings, United have had a lot in that kind of top 10. Chelsea have had a few. But they've often been when the teams haven't been at their best. And you look at Jack Grealish as an example. I don't actually think he's been good. I don't think he individually has performed enough to warrant 100 million. But because he's been part of a team that did a treble, a 4P, and has won everything, no one really cares. So I think joining Liverpool, a team that's winning, Frimpong's coming, Kirkes is there, your midfield is brilliant already. You've got Salah staying, Van Dijk staying. You've got Alisson, who may go in a year or so, but you've bought a pretty good replacement already. I think he comes into a team that's already functioning very well. So even if he doesn't hit 126 million pounds worth of output and consistency, I still think he'll be a good enough player in an excellent Liverpool team where it will barely get discussed. And I think that's where the pressure often gets to players when he's 80 million. If you join a struggling, if Man United dropped 120 million pounds on a player this summer, even if he comes in and is brilliant, that the price tag will still get spoken about when we're sitting 8th in the league table as an example. So I think he'll handle that pressure, and I think the team will absorb a lot of it. The question I had for you is this. There's a few stories last week, Jamie, from, I'll get the journalist's name right. I think it was Sam Maguire, who's fairly respected, I think, in the Liverpool community. And you'll know it better than me, that you're looking at a striker, but Ramos's name of PSG came up because you're looking for one that's kind of on a budget. What are you reading, though, by and large, from the sort of Liverpool press? If you end up dropping 126 here, you've obviously got Frimpong that wasn't that expensive. Kirkes is going to be around the 50 million mark. There's going to be a few exits. Are you expecting, though, an Ekitike, a Gyökeres, a top-level number 9 as well? Or could it be, once this deal's done, you kind of finish for the summer? What's your understanding as a Liverpool fan?
Yeah, it's a bit strange in a sense, because I think when we were kind of building up towards the transfer window, obviously we had intuitions that Trent was going to leave, so we're maybe looking at like a right back. But after that, it was a striker. Everyone was like, get a striker, and then we'll move to maybe some other positions. Definitely not like an attacking midfielder, which Wirtz is, and dropping that amount of money on someone in that position. But I think, as Alice said, Liverpool need to replace Trent's creativity, and we're not going to do that at right back. So we have to look at other ways that we're going to do it. I think Slot is maybe developing his team and in what way he wants to maybe to work at. And I don't think he predominantly is big on saying, I know this is counterintuitive, but I know Frimpong and Kirkes are like very attacking fullbacks. But even this year, I don't think Trent has been heavily involved in going forward as much as he was under Klopp. So I think from a striker position, I think Ekitike is probably the one that we're looking at. 100 million, they're saying, for him, which I don't think for a 22-year-old that scored 15 goals last year in the German league. And I think he had an XG of 22, so it was one of the biggest underperformers of goals in the top 5 leagues. I think that would be a risk. I wouldn't be spending that money. And if you're looking at Isak, it's maybe like 120, 130. So I'd rather push that boundary and see if Newcastle maybe are willing to sell him, which I don't think they are. And I don't think they need to right now. I think they haven't bought anyone in the last 3 windows, so they can maybe go out and spend money. They don't need to sell players to get money in. So yeah, it is a weird one. I don't think there's any kind of really game changers out there at the minute that Liverpool are being heavily involved in. I think Alvarez is someone that a lot of Liverpool fans are maybe fancying because he's prem proven. He's going to be about 120 million. Really good for Atletico, but Atletico don't want to sell him either. They only bought him last year. So it is a difficult position that I think Liverpool are probably going to need to fill. I think there's talk of Diaz potentially leaving. There's been stuff on his social media saying that looking like he's maybe potentially saying goodbye to Liverpool fans. Nunez is obviously someone that is heavily linked with departing. Jota is someone who struggled a lot with injury. So I think that forward area is up for grabs in Liverpool. And if you can sign someone like an Isak, like an Alvarez, then I think they will be like, even, I know Wirtz is obviously coming in for big money, but that would be like, I think that would send big shockwaves around the Premier League to say, like, they're going out and spending 120 million on Wirtz. They're going out and buying Frimpong, Kirkes, and now a top level striker. Like, I think a lot of teams will be worried in the Premier League and obviously in the Champions League as well. So yeah, I think once we start to see a little bit more progression maybe in the Wirtz deal, we'll maybe look towards the forward area. But it doesn't look like, from my perspective and from what I'm seeing, that they're maybe going to go out and buy like an Isak or an Alvarez. It might be someone on the cheap, like a Ramos, like you were saying, which I don't think would be the best option.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So it's going to be an interesting one. There's an update actually this morning relating to Chelsea. Sebastian shared it here that Ekitike is pushing for a move to Chelsea for the kind of youth project. He falls under the youth project being 23 years of age. There's a report that Simon Phillips has shared that Hugo Ekitike is officially out of the France under 21 team. Chelsea are putting pressure on the transfer who now wants of the transfer of Ekitike, who now wants the move. So a number of reports this morning saying Ekitike wants the Chelsea move. I'm kind of happy about that because I just want more and more teams to eliminate themselves from the Gyökeres race. I'm not lying. So every time a club does that, we hope we're going to get onto him a little bit later. But but I also agree with you. I think with what you're spending on a lot of Liverpool fans who have been on our show don't want Šeško, don't want Ekitike. They sort of don't want these very expensive young.
We're scared. We're scared from Nunes.
is it Noodles? Is Noodles scarring you lot that badly?
Well, like you think about it, and it's not. It's more a case of nowadays with FFP. If you go out and spend big money on a player, it's not that it has to work, but like you're hampered then for a good while of like trying to bring in another big signing because of like say the wages that they're on. You obviously spend that money, you want it to work. Similar with Nunes, we've had him for 3 seasons when Liverpool fans have been like wanting it to happen, even though against our better judgment, we want them to succeed. And I think with like especially with how Liverpool spend money, they don't go out and spend big consistently every single year. Like we didn't sign anyone last season or Chiesa, but like we didn't spend anything the last season predominantly big. And then obviously the season before we were going to spend money, but then didn't because obviously Caicedo and Lavia. I know we spent money in other positions in terms of like the midfield, but yeah, I just think probably a little bit scarred from Nunes. I think if we go out and get like a really good forward, I think especially with Salah, I know he's obviously saved for like the next few years, but like you're going to be looking at like trying to get someone that is willing to take that mantle off him in like say the coming years, where like you can maybe see like someone that's going to maybe grow and develop and maybe want to take on that position as like Liverpool's leading man. But yeah, it's a tricky position that I think they're in. But hopefully, with Wirtz coming in, maybe it'll take away a little bit of responsibility from Mo. And then if you maybe bring in someone like a Ramos, I'm not saying they go for him, but someone that can contribute maybe 10, 15 goals on top of that, then like you're kind of spreading it out rather than heavily reliant on Salah, which we have been this season.